Welcome to Cheese in Depth. I'm Michael Landis, and today we have National Cheddar Day. And I have the privilege of being able to have on will be Denise LaBrie and Jill Allen, both from Tillamook, and they're going to join me today, and we are going to meet 5 cheesemakers and see 5 cheese boards and have one pick the best one that we just adore the most. And we'll give you an opportunity also to vote when we finish the presentations. You'll get a chance to see a very short video of each one, and then you'll get to see their cheese board, and then we'll have a little vote that goes along. So I'm going to introduce you now to Denise LaBrie and to Jill Allen. Denise?
Hi, Michael. Happy National Cheddar Day. How are things going in Florida?
That's wonderful. This is the perfect day for a cheddar day. It's here in Tampa. We got a little bit of rain, but it's a perfect day to be in the house enjoying cheddar with some of my favorite beverages and also spreads.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being our host. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Denise LaBrie with Tillamook. I'm the sales team lead for our deli specialty program. And I've had the honor, along with my team, of launching Maker's Reserve Vintage Cheddar to the industry. Joining me today from Tillamook is Jill Allen. Jill, introduce yourself to everyone.
Thank you, Denise, and happy National Cheddar Day. I'm so excited to be here today and so excited to see all of the wonderful pairings that these cheesemongers have brought to us today. I am Jill Allen. I am the Director of Product Excellence in Tillamook. I've been with the company 20 plus years, ensuring that we do right by every bite to our consumers and customers.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill. Well, National Cheddar Day. What is National Cheddar Day, you might ask? So for a brief history, it may come as no surprise to you that we love cheddar at Tillamook, and we love to celebrate cheddar at Tillamook. So in honor of cheddar and our Farmer Co-op's 100th anniversary 2 years ago, Tillamook established February 13th as National Cheddar Day. So we decided to do a celebration of our cheddar and Maker's Reserve. And so what we did was we recruited 5 cheesemongers, renowned cheesemongers from across the country, to put together some wonderful pairings and present them to us. And that's what we're going to share with you today. So we'll do a quick overview and intro of the cheesemongers, and then we'll show you each one of their pairing presentations. We'll talk a little bit and eat a little bit of cheese, and then go on to the next. And at the end, as a viewer, you'll have the opportunity to choose your favorite presentation and pairings, and then we'll share ours as well. And you want to stick around to the very end because we're going to do a random drawing from our viewers for a free bundle of cheddar in celebration of National Cheddar Day. So here is a quick snapshot of the cheesemongers from across the country that we've invited to join us today. So first is Sarah Munley. She is a certified cheese professional, and she's with Provista Specialty Foods in Oregon. She's going to be working with our 2018 Maker's Reserve Vintage. Next is Ben Young. He is a cheesemonger with the Fox and the Crow Cheese Shop and Bistro in Colorado. He'll be working with our 2017 Vintage. Then is Lindsey Fougerson. She's also a certified cheese professional, and she's a cheesemonger at HEB Grocery in Texas. Then is Tonda Corrente. She is the owner of La Femme du Fromage in Florida, and she's going to be working with our 2015 Vintage. And then last is Nicole Easterday. She is the owner of FARMcurious in California, Oakland, California. And she is going to be working with our 2010 Vintage, our 10-year-old Vintage Cheddar. So that's a very high-level introduction to them. Michael has a little snapshot where each cheesemonger introduces themselves and what they're going to be doing today, which vintage they're going to be working with. And I think he's going to show that now.
First, happy National Cheddar Day, everyone. My name is Benjamin Young. I live in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I work at the Fox and the Crow Cheese Shop and Bistro. For my Tillamook pairing today, I got the Maker's Reserve 2017 cheddar. It's a little bit younger, and it is a white cheddar. You can see.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Munley. I'm a cheesemonger based in Portland, Oregon. Right now I work for Provista Specialty Foods, a local distributor. This year I am pairing the 2018 Tillamook Cheddar.
Hi everyone, I'm Lindsey Fougerson. I'm a cheesemonger HEB here in Texas, as well as a certified cheese professional. It's National Cheddar Day, so I've made a board with our Tillamook 2016 Maker's Reserve Cheddar.
Hi, my name is Tonda Correnti, and I'm with La Femme de Fromage in Orlando, Florida. Today, I'm going to be pairing the 2015 Maker's Reserve from Tillamook.
Hello, and happy National Cheddar Day. I'm Nicole Easterday from FARMcurious, and I'm here to pair the Tillamook 2010 Maker's Reserve.
I would like to give you an overview of our Maker's Reserve Vintage Cheddar program. So it was over a decade ago that our cheesemaker started putting away cheese to age, and he noticed that it only got better with time. And so after doing that and sharing it with the farmer co-op, they decided to make a commitment to aging cheddars with the vision to have a long age vintage cheddar program. So what Maker's Reserve Vintage Cheddar program is that each year we release an aged white cheddar that is aged 3 years, and also a vintage that is aged 10 years. So the beauty of that is that when the availability of one vintage runs out, there's another vintage that is there to take its place in the deli specialty cheese case and in shoppers' baskets. So that's how the program works. And the wonderful thing about it is that each vintage has its own characteristics. You know, it comes from the year when it's made, and then because cheese is a living thing, it takes on new characteristics as it ages. So Jill presides over our aging program, so she can speak more to that.
Yes, thank you, Denise. You know, our secret is time. So aging our cheddar for 60 days all the way up to 10 years. And the exciting thing is it comes from one recipe. So once that product is created, we tuck it away in our cheese aging facility, and it sits there at about 43 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's touched again until we're ready to cut it and share it with our consumers. I'm so excited to taste these products with you and to feel and taste and smell the different textures and aromas as the product naturally ages out. Because people ask the question, well, does it all taste the same because it's the same recipe? No, each year the cheddar develops further along and you get these great distinct aromas and flavor profiles to our cheddars. And it's just really exciting to share that and then pair them with different local ingredients that you have around you. And so it's always fun to do that, Denise.
It sure is. I've had fun doing that with you over the past couple of years. And you know, I mentioned the farmer co-op, but for those of you that aren't familiar with Tillamook, Tillamook is a farmer-owned and operated co-op, and the co-op is about 40 farms strong. The farmer co-ops, it has multi-generations of farmers, and so we make decisions as a company for the long-term health of the co-op rather than short-term profits. We have a commitment to quality and high standards in everything that we do. It begins with the high quality milk that comes from our healthy animals, and it continues into the exacting standards that we use as we make our cheese. Our cheese is naturally aged, and so all of this comes together into a cheese that is so unique. The flavor is just so unique to Tillamook. You really can't get a cheddar that tastes like Tillamook anywhere else. And that's why the brand is so known and celebrated. So Michael, how are you doing? Are we ready to go into the first video for Sarah Munley in 2018?
We are going to start with Ben, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So here we go. This is the Maker's Reserve 2017 pairings with Ben.
Okay, great.
So it lists out that Ben's got the Bees Gourmet Nuts, insatiable cashews with rosemary and brown sugar and other spices, the Quince and Apple, the Pear Mostarda, Lucky's Markets from Fort Collins, the Pineapple Mango Salsa, which includes pineapple, mango, onion, jalapeno, lime wedge, and his beverage, he's going to tell you all about the Bootstrap. So before we go there, tell us more about the Vintage 2017 Maker's Reserve.
Okay. So 2017 is, it's a lovely, bright, like naturally white, as all of our Maker's Reserve are, slightly glossy. There's a few of those lovely crunchy crystals in it that you love to have that added texture when you have it and you feel it in your mouth. It's got a rich custardy flavor, and it's got a bright acidity like lemon. So that's when it's on the younger side of being extra sharp, some of the characteristics. Do you have any notes that you like to point out about 2017, Jill?
Yes, what I really appreciate about this 3-year-old, well, 4-year-old cheddar now, if you can believe it, is that it's smooth texture. So as the product ages, bite into it, it's just got this velvety, creamy profile to it with these sweet stone fruit notes. And it's really easy to pair with. I took some very good tips from Ben that I can't wait for him to share with us. And then Denise and I will share with you how we created our perfect bite.
Happy National Cheddar Day, everyone. My name is Benjamin Young. I live in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I work at the Fox and the Crow Cheese Shop and Bistro. For my Tillamook pairing today, I got the Maker's Reserve 2017 cheddar. It's a little bit younger, and it is a white cheddar. You can see it right there. This one I really do like just because it has like a nice kind of custardy like finish to it, and it does end with a nice kind of bright cruciferous, almost like acidic note, which I find really interesting and you don't see in a lot of cheddars I've found. What I've picked for today is we have Bees Gourmet Nuts. These are the insatiable cashews. They have rosemary and just a hint of spice to them. We have the Pear Mostarda. This is going to be a classic Italian recipe. Little bit of horseradish, but nice and kind of sweet on the front. And then we also have a pineapple and mango salsa from a local company here in Fort Collins. And then lastly, for my beverage pairing, we have the Lush Puppy Citrus Peel IPA from Bootstrap Brewing, which I find just kind of finishes really nicely with it. And let's dig into it. So I would start with the cashews. The rosemary kind of brings out a lot of the savory notes into it, and the crunchiness does add a little depth of texture, kind of lets you explore the creaminess of the cheddar. Now, this will go with pretty much any of the other pairings, but the rest of them I might explore with the cheese solo. So the Pear Mostarda, you can see, this one, it does start with a kind of a sweetness and a starchiness from the pear. I find that that kind of like lets the sweetness play out a little bit more, although the sharpness isn't lost. And then the cheddar does kind of last quite a while on the palate. You have that kind of those bright flavors that you're playing with. So I wanted something that would last a while with it, that would kind of go with the 10 yards, if you will. So this one has a nice horseradish finish to it, and you actually end up getting more savory notes on the end of that, and they both finish around the same time. So it's kind of a nice, beautiful little dance they have. For the pineapple mango salsa, this one actually includes onions. And I think onions and cheddar are a really underrated pairing because they bring out a lot of more like savory kind of herbal notes, honestly. This one, the spice plays well, but overall, the mango, the pineapple, and the onions combine to give you a nice kind of sweetness that ends in an almost roast chicken kind of flavor. And that I found really, really kind of wild. And now for the beverage pairing, I find that beer actually, in my personal opinion, goes better with cheese than wine. And I think that's because of the effervescence. It kind of clears the palate, cuts through the cheese a little bit better than wine. Whereas if you have something that kind of coats the tongue, the wine can kind of go right over it. You don't get many of the notes. So this one I really like just because it kind of cuts through and the citrusness plays really, really well with the bright acidic notes at the end of the cheese. So I would start with the cashews, go on to the pear mostarda, try a little bit of the main course that kind of tastes like roast chicken, and then finish with the beer to kind of clear your palate a little bit. For my perfect bite, I'm going to use club crackers as a base. Got a couple pieces of the Maker's Reserve 17 cheddar, a couple of the rosemary encrusted cashews, and a drizzle of the pear mostarda. I find this is a good way to start out. It'll be nice and sweet. Another alternative you could do is, again, the Maker's 2017 cheddar, a little bit of this mango pineapple salsa with some onions and jalapenos in it. It'll give you a nice kind of savory, like herbal roasted chicken flavor. I find that will be your second course. I've chosen the Lush Puppy Citrus Peel IPA from Bootstrap Brewing. I find that the effervescence of beer really kind of cleans the tongue and cuts it really nicely. It kind of cleanses your palate for the next go round. And the citrus notes really do finish nicely with those kind of brighter notes in the cheese. Thank you for having me. My name is Ben Young from Fort Collins, Colorado, and the Fox and the Crow Cheese Shop. Thank you for having me.
So I tend to go for sweet sometimes and savory. Today, what I chose to pair similar to what Ben had was an apple and pear jam and then a spiced nut. Ben had those that he got through his shop, the Fox and the Crow. I found them locally. I made my nuts. They're rosemary candy and spiced nuts that were actually in a garden recipe that I found. So in composing the perfect bite, I used a cracker and I kept the cracker kind of neutral. So I used a La Panzanella cracker and I put the apple pear jam on the top of the cheese. And then I put a nut on the very top. And it was this wonderful combination of the bright acidity of the 2017 and the custardy mouthfeel that it gives, mingled with the apple and pear, and then that spiced nut with a little kick of cayenne, just really blended it together. This is, as Ben shared, the Maker's Reserve 2017. He also paired it with an IPA, like an orange IPA, and I was able to find one like that too. So I'm excited because I put the pairings together last night, but I haven't tried them yet. So I'm really excited to try them. What did you do with the 2017, Jill?
That was fantastic, Denise. I really liked how he had that mango type chutney. So I found a mango with fresh mango with red onion and some jalapeno to really do that opposite pull from those sweet stone fruit citrus notes. So blending that again and the spiced nuts on top with just a plain oat cracker. It looks very beautiful and I'm really excited to try it as well. I haven't tasted it, but that's what's fun about adding the nuts and adding the mango and adding the oat cake is not only do you get these beautiful colors to go with the white cheddar, but also the auditory crunch as you taste the product. So, having the different textures all come together just gives you a different flavor and texture together. Absolutely. How did yours taste?
It was great. So what I loved about it is in our cheeses and cheese in general, you get sweeter notes and you get savory notes, and you can put pairings together with them that contrast or that complement that similar flavor profile. So what Ben had done in his bite with the nut and the jam was have a little bit of both. So it was kind of dancing together. And so it was this sweet, a little bit spicy, the creamy and the acidity, tartness of the cheese.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. A little bit of my jalapeno and the mango and that rich butter note from the cheddar. As you know, our cheddars have higher fat, less moisture, so you're going to get that intense dairy note. And as it ages, you get these unique flavors. And so this is fantastic.
Yeah, what Ben mentioned when he was discussing that pairing is that kind of savory flavor came through almost like when you're eating a chicken, roasted chicken. And that's what's so wonderful when you find a pairing that creates flavor that is beyond both the items that you're pairing is really magical.
He had mentioned that citrus hoppy beer. I pair with my local Pelican Beak Breaker. So you get that hoppy punch with it, and so good.
Yeah, he also mentioned that he likes drinking beer with cheese because he finds the effervescence of it really kind of cuts through the fat and clears his palate after he eats it. So he really enjoys when he's able to have a beer.
Oh, likewise.
The beauty of this cheese is that it really does go well with different types of beer, from regular lagers to hoppy IPAs. Also does really well with wines, Syrahs, Sangioveses, it's excellent with, and also bourbon does really well. So, and of course you guys know how well rum does, so, and pear ciders as well. So there's a lot of really good things. I'm using a black lager for mine, and I just love how it works across the whole board. So I don't have to worry about it being overpowering. And that maltiness really plays well with the butter of the cheese. And then, you know, I have a little bit of a spicy jam for myself to kind of spice it up a little bit. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome.
Yeah, that hoppy and that spicy and the citrus, it's just a real treat. It's just amazing, and you can't go wrong with the 2017.
So Sarah has the 2018 Makers Reserve, and her theme is Winter Citrus Brunch Board featuring Tillamook makers. And so she has the Sicilian marmalade, which I think is really cool to be able to have that. She has homemade savory pistachio, hazelnuts, black pepper granola, and ribbons of fresh mint. And her beverage is a Burgant sour, which if you take a look at the recipe here, that's quite fun where she put this together. And you guys want to talk about the 2018?
Yes, the 2018, you know, Michael, there's the boldness and nuttiness of this just really pops. And what I like about it also is that there's this balanced note of a barley and then finishes off with a leek. So you get this really unique balance of these organic flavors that are just crisp and clean, and then followed through with our just buttery, delicious notes. And as the product ages, you start to, as Denise mentioned earlier, to get these little tyrosine crystals that are popping and get that auditory crunch. What did you taste, Denise?
You know, I can really get that flavor of butternut squash in it. And that along with the creamy texture just makes it so unctuous and delicious. The 2018 is our youngest of the Makers Reserve Vintage Cheddar. It was just released this January. So it's going to be around for several years. And it'll start showing up in stores and you'll be able to give it a try.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Munley. I'm a cheesemonger based in Portland, Oregon. Right now I work for Provista Specialty Foods, a local distributor. This year I am pairing the 2018 Tillamook Cheddar. I made a little bite here. For my bite, I decided to go with a Sicilian marmalade and a savory granola with a little bit of fresh mint. Paired this with a cocktail that I made with a locally made Genever called Geneva from Freeland Spirits. So I picked the Tillamook 2018 Makers Reserve Cheddar from Tillamook. It's very smooth. It has really rich, creamy character, as well as a nice hazelnut note to it. And in my bite today, I made it into cute little hearts that are perfectly bite-sized. So you can add just a little bit of the right components to make it taste great. And on that, you can see just a little dollop of orange marmalade with a crunch of that savory granola and a little ribbon of mint to make that bite. The flavors come together. The acidity from the marmalade brings out the pleasant acid that's in this Maker's Reserve. And then the savory granola brings out the umami notes, as well as a little bit of a hazelnut quality that we mentioned before. And then that little ribbon of mint adds just a bright freshness to it, as well as a pop of color. So you can have a couple to get started here and then build your own as you go. And then with it, I've made a cocktail here to pair with the cheese, also playing on that wintry citrus theme. That is a Genever that is made with Oregon rye, has really pretty aromatics that are rather herbal, and then a really nice sort of hazelnut too that's very smooth and round. And with it, I made a simple syrup to go in that cocktail using Earl Grey tea, and then used a little bit of fresh bergamot juice and white vermouth to tie it all together. And the acidity in that cocktail helps cut through the fat that you find in this delicious rich cheese. All together, it pairs really nicely with a sort of wintry breakfasty feel if you're willing to have that cocktail first thing in the morning. So I'm Sarah. Thank you for listening about my pairing. I hope you all enjoy National Cheddar Day.
For the 2018, what I did was I was so fascinated by Sarah's making her own savory granola that I found a nut granola that wasn't too sweet. And then I transformed it by putting it in a pan in the oven and roasting it with a little bit of cayenne pepper, a little bit of cumin. And then I thought about black sesame seeds, and so I sprinkled everything but the bagel seasoning on top of it and tossed it all together and came up with a really lovely savory granola. So I used an orange marmalade, and I found this Sicilian blood orange marmalade. So for my perfect bite, I put it right on the cheese. I didn't use a cracker, and I put the Sicilian orange marmalade on top, and then I sprinkled some granola and then just a little bit of mint. And, you know, it was so magical. You know, when someone knows cheese as well as Sarah does, the things that they come up with to bring together a pairing are really, really magical. And this pairing was one of those. And I'm pairing it with Woods Family Chardonnay. They are a local vinter in Livermore, California. I've really been getting into their wines. A friend of mine, Michael Kelly, who is a wine blogger, CaliforniaWinesAndWineries.com, he has introduced me to the Woods Family Chardonnay, and it's just the right acidity and slightly oaky and buttery, and together these are just like making a party in my mouth.
I am so impressed. I need to get that recipe from you, Denise. That sounds amazing. I can't wait to hear how your first bite tastes with the granola. How was the crunchiness of the butteriness of the cheese? Oh, I think you're muted, Denise.
Thanks, Jill. You do get some of the tyrosine crystals in it, quite a few actually, in cheese that's aged 3 years. And it's just one of those great kind of pops that's added to the flavor and the experience of the cheese. I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bite of this and enjoy it with my wine. Do you have a bite?
I do. So what I paired, so learning from Sarah, she is just amazing. She lives just down the road from me in Portland, and she actually won the Cheesemonger Invitational in San Francisco in 2020. So extremely talented. I didn't have any mint today, so I'm going to have to recreate this again with the mint, but I found some beautiful orange marmalade to pair with the 2018. So the sweet, nutty notes with the orange marmalade. And I put it on just a plain cracker so that you could really just experience the orange marmalade with the 2018. and then put a little bit of the hazelnuts on top. So not only, once again, you get the auditory crunch, but the visual effect of it's just so beautiful. And I love how that orange marmalade just pops. So I'm excited to taste this with you as well. I have not tasted any of my bites before, so this is fun.
Oh, good. Yeah, you know, when I was putting the pairing together, I tried it with a cracker. Are you loving it?
Uh-huh.
I tried it with the cracker, and then I decided because of the granola, and that was doing some of that, you know, crunchiness and then the grain, and I decided to do it without. How are you enjoying that, Jill? What flavors are coming
Oh
through?
my goodness. So the orange rind, you know, it's got that little bit of pith, just a little bit of bite, but the sweetness and then the glaze from the marmalade just coats the cheddar to where it's like this citrus, not too sweet, just amazing little bite. And I'm just really enjoying this. I think this is one of my new favorites. It's fantastic, Denise. I love it. And a little bit of that hazelnut on top. Just a little bit savory, a little bit sweet, and a little bit of that pith. All just goes so well with the 2018.
Yeah, I really love the citrus pairings with the extra sharp cheddars. Even after I finished it, what lingers for me is just this really very mellow halo of the orange rind and very pleasant custardy creaminess. It's still on my mouth palate from the cheese.
It's so good. And what I really like to try is Sarah created for her pairing of her drink was she took an Earl Grey tea and made it into a simple syrup and put it into her drink. And maybe you remember exactly what other ingredients she had in it, but I need to try that as well. That just sounded so lovely this time of year. Just something that's, you know, close to home, yet so unique, and being able to pair that with our 2018.
Yeah, it was with a rye alcohol, and what she was going for was like a brunch theme. So I too I could just tell I was thinking about making some Earl Grey tea, but I didn't have the alcohol, so I thought I'd go with the Chardonnay. But I could see how that Earl Grey flavor could complement the citrus and the granola, as well as the cheese, to just make this symphony of like the Earl Grey is so floral. So the floral with the acidity and the fruitiness and the creaminess would just be lovely.
Something else that I really appreciated with Sarah's pairing was just, you know, when you cut something differently, it gives a different effect within your mouth. And the mint, she described she cut them into little ribbons. Did you do something similar to have that little bit of not only that unique texture, but the flavor of the mint?
Well, you know, when I tried it last night, I did julienne the mint, and I wanted it to be ever so thin because fresh mint is pretty powerful. But at first I started with a very thin sliver of it, and then I added more because the cheese really held up to the mint. And when they come together, you know, I felt what it did was it really brought the brightness of the cheese alive. It didn't overpower it. They just met and they bloomed together, and it really brought out that lovely acidity, and then the orange peel and the blood orange jam just gave it that fruitiness. So yeah, this was a delightful pairing.
Which is the Maker's Mark 2016, and this is with Lindsay, and she's with HEB Grocery, and she actually has 2 bites: Unami Bomb, which is a shallot confit with red wine from Quince and Apple, and the Fuchicata salami from Olympia Provisions, and a rosemary and currant crisp. Her second bite is Sweet and Sassy, which is the Effie's Oat Cake, and the Taza dark chocolate with Poblano chili and spiced candied cherries. And her beverage is a Perry bourbon, and she mixed it up with a little bit of Samuel Smith's Organic Perry, Basil Hayden's Kentucky Bourbon, Rosemary Simple Syrup, and some lemon juice and bitters. So, and here it is, the 2016 vintage tasting.
You know, Denise, this 2016, as our cheddars continually to age naturally in that 43 to 45 degree cold storage area that we like to keep our cheddars just tucked away till they're ready to be cut for our Tillamook fans. You know, the ability for it to develop these unique flavors is by far just some of the best I've tasted in the world. And it can't be duplicated. It cannot be duplicated anywhere in the world. And it has this nutty caramel note to it, and then this creamy zing at the end for me. And for me, just being able to feel how it starts to break and just shatter, but then the higher fat, lower moisture, when you masticate it, it's just becomes so creamy. And those are just some of the few attributes that I just really love about the 2016. What about you?
Well, what stands out to me for the 2016, Jill, is that earthiness in it. It really has this roasted nut and earthy flavor that I think pairs very well with what she went with, which was like a bourbon cocktail. I think that what was exciting about pairing this cheese was finding the notes in the chocolate, you know, the wonderful acidity and the woodiness and the roasted flavors that can come through, and it accentuated in the cheese. So this was an exciting pairing for me.
Hi everyone, I'm Lindsey Fougerson. I'm a Cheesemonger HEB here in Texas, as well as a certified cheese professional. It's National Cheddar Day, so I've made a board with our Tillamook 2016 Makers Reserve Cheddar. I have some fun stuff to pair it with. We have a shallot confit. We also have some finocchione salami, some candied spiced cherries, Effie's Oak Cakes, as well as some dark chocolate with chili peppers in it. And to round that out, we have a beverage I'm calling a Perry Bourbon. All right, so I have a really fun board to show y'all. I'm going to take you through. So starting with the Tillamook 2016 Makers Reserve Cheddar, I love the roasted nuttiness you get from this, almost like a roasted hazelnut flavor. You also get these really nice umami notes, a little bit of woodiness, so you really taste that Oregon terroir. The texture itself is a little bit flaky. You get that beautiful crystalline texture to it, as well as that dense, really buttery mouthfeel. So to pair with it for the bite, I am going to make two separate ones actually. I am going to start with one that's almost like a dance back and forth between sweet and savory. So for this one, we're going to start with our rosemary and currant crisp. Add a little bit of crunch, a little bit of sweetness from the currants. You almost get like a berry flavor to that. So then we're going to add some cheddar. And then the finocchione salami on top. That's going to add that savoriness, a little bit of garlic flavor. And then just a little bit of the shallot confit on top. So I feel like all of this together, the flavors just meld so nicely. So you get the little bit of sweetness from those shallots, that caramely flavor that helps bring out those roasty notes in the cheese. The rosemary from the cracker really helps with the savory, woody notes in the Tillamook. It's just a really fun umami flavor in this bite. The next one I have is going to be a little bit more on the sweeter side, but a little bit sassy. So we have the Effie Oak Cake. We're going to add some cheddar, a little bit of the spiced candied cherry, and then just a little piece of the dark chocolate. So this one, you get the Effie Oak Cake, just really nice and buttery, helps bring out the butteriness in the cheese. You get the spiced cherry with that warmth, and then also that little kick of spice from the dark chocolate. So with the beverage, I feel like the savory bite with the rosemary and the drink, they really go hand in hand. I really love the woodiness, that woody note in the cheese. So I tried to bring that out as much as possible. For the sweet bite, you have that bright acidic sweetness from the pear cider that I feel like plays with that sweetness and that little bit of spice from the dark chocolate really well. I'm Lindsey Fougerson from HEB. I hope you enjoyed my board, my 2 different bites, my sweet and savory umami bite, my sweet and sassy bite. Thank you so much for watching, and happy National Cheddar Day.
What I loved about Lindsey's pairings is she gave them a name, and she gave the one umami bomb with the salami that she really thought brought out the savoriness of the cheese. And then she did a sweet and sassy, and that included some chocolate and then the candied cherries, which I thought brought out, there's kind of a ribbon of this cranberry flavor that comes through the 2016 as well. So she leaned into that for her sweet with candy cherry. So for my perfect bite, what I did was I bought dried cherries and then I candied them myself. And I made a syrup that I put cardamom and cinnamon and smoked paprika and a good little dose of cayenne pepper. And then I put the cherries in it and I let them soak all that up overnight. And at the very end, what I put in, I just remembered, I put a 1/4 cup of whiskey in there. So I wanted them to have a little bit of that, bourbony flavor that Lindsey was talking about in her cocktail. And then I paired it with a 70% cacao dark chocolate. And I put it on a Carr's wheatmeal biscuit. I couldn't find Effie's. I love Effie's Oak Cakes, but that's what I was able to find. So, and then I paired it with a Cab Franc that is also from a local vintner in California, Cooter Ridge. And it recently won a gold medal in a local Cab Franc contest here.
Excellent. I need that recipe as well, Denise. That sounds amazing. Those bourbon cherries with the chocolate. I can't wait to hear how it tastes to you if you have not tasted it yet. It sounds
I haven't. I'll give it a try, and then do you want to tell us about what you put your perfect bite?
And what I really enjoyed was just the theme of the sweetness and then this umami bomb. And I am definitely a savory person. So going on that theme of just that umami bomb, I found some local crackers that had cranberries in it. So you talk about that cranberry thread that you taste in this 2016. And I also found a beautiful local truffle pork duck liver pate, and then put the 2016 with an Oregon hazelnut. Oregon is known for our hazelnuts, our filbert nuts. We grow the majority of the crop for the U.S. here in Oregon. In Oregon, so pairing all of these together, I just created this distinct umami palette. I have not tried this yet as well, so I'm very excited to. But I am hoping that between pulling that cranberry and the caramel, and then that little bit of zing at the end, and then having the crunchiness and the butteriness will just be that exciting just flavor combination. So cheers so far to National Cheddar Day to you, Denise. And I've also paired it with a local Sauvignon Blanc up in Washington, St. Michelle. So this is well crisp and clean, just really beautiful. So I'm excited to try this with you.
I'll look forward to hearing how it tastes after you are able to take a bite. So what I experienced in that bite was, it's so amazing how chocolate pairs with cheese so wonderfully. The acidity in it, and then also the way that it melts in your mouth. along with the cheese, as the cheese becomes creamy on your palate, is what really creates this wonderful blend. You know, and then when you have the spiced cherry with a little hint of bourbon on it too, you know, for me, I love bourbon balls. And so, you know, just adding in that little festivity of a little bit of bourbon there just really brought both the acidity and the fruitiness, as well as that undertone of like roasted nuts and woodiness alive in it. And they kept Frank with, you know, the tannic properties of it just really kind of cut through it. I think the acidity of that added to it as well. It was really a delightful pairing.
You hit it, Denise, the festivities, right? It's National Cheddar Day, and what better way to celebrate National Cheddar Day with your favorite makers?
That's true.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. And I would love to try that Cab Frank someday. It sounds amazing.
I will send you one. So yes, it's just a celebration in my mouth. How are you doing, Michael?
I took your lead on that and went bourbon. So I have a couple different bourbons. I went with the Knob Creek. It's a little bit more, about 109 proof, so it's got a little bit more oomph to it. And that's what this cheese can do. I mean, it's so beautiful that it brings out, it's got a nice tang, but it's got the structure that, you know, if you really like a bourbon or a scotch, man, this just works out fantastic with it.
That sounds great. I got my little shot of bourbon in the cherries. So, but I love having, when we did our holiday cocktail pairing, I enjoyed having the whiskey with the cheese as well. So now we've made it through our celebration of 2016.
So this is Tonda, and she is from Orlando and La Femme du Fromage. She's the owner there, and she has the 2015 Makers Reserve, and she's using an amazing cookie. This is an Eternal Flame, and it is a triple chocolate with cherry, cinnamon, cayenne, a chili pepper, and sea salt. It's from local breweries, local bakehouse there, and it's just an amazing. I've had this before, and it's got everything you'd possibly want. And she's pairing that up with the cheese and also with a wonderful Kaylee's Rescue Red from the Quantum Leap winery. And then she has a duck liver pate, which is just amazing in itself, with a little bit of truffle mustard. And then she's using the Trupac, the Shock Porter, and then from the Ivanhoe Park Brewing, which you really need something a little bit more stronger, which is perfect. And then, of course, she does a grilled cheese sandwich that's amazing. Every happy hour on the weekend, they do a special, and especially this weekend, she's going to have that with some sourdough bread, which is from the Old Heart, smoked bacon, and house pear spiced chutney, and going to pair that with the porter. So tell us more about the 2015 Vintage Cheddar.
Well, the 2015 is a very special vintage. It holds a place in my heart. It starts with such a bright citrus note, and then as it melts in your mouth, it becomes this rich, custardy, velvety experience that it's just wonderful. And this cheese has won 2 awards at the American Cheese Society, which is a very prestigious organization in the specialty cheese world. So the pairings that Tonda did are really awesome, and I'll tell you a little bit more after she takes you through them, but I feel like the 2015 and chocolate are a match made in heaven. I think that the sweetness of the chocolate meets the acidity and kind of lemony the way that cheese presents initially, and it just comes together very magically. And so that's what I love about the 2015. How about you, Jill?
Yeah, you just described this cheese so well, Denise. Just the lactic acid that's developed into this beautiful citrus note, yet it's so smooth. and you'll experience these undertones of black tea and cherry notes. Just to share what's fun about experiencing these different flavors as they develop is at Tillamook, we grade these vintages every year. And so being able to like open it up and just smell and taste how they've developed over time is just really what cheese lovers at Tillamook love to do. And you just hit it perfectly, Denise. Just everything about this year is just amazing. And I can't wait to hear what Tonda has to share, how her pairings go.
Hi, my name is Tonda Carenti, and I'm with La Femme de Fromage in Orlando, Florida. Today, I'm going to be pairing the 2015 Maker's Reserve from Tillamook. Is just an outstanding, creamy, surprisingly creamy cheddar. For something so old and aged and complex, you get so much cream still out of it, and it really is fantastic. The crystallization that you see on the outside as well as that you taste on the inside is just mind-blowing. What I really love about this cheddar, really just get so much out of this. It's got just a gorgeous nuttiness, but you get like so many like tannins maybe that come from flavors of like black tea. And I'm a really big fan of cheese and chocolate. I love the way that the salty and the sweet work together. So then we also have another partnership. I work with Peterbrook Chocolatier out of Winter Park. This is their dark chocolate espresso bar, 2018 vintage of Kaylee's Rescue Red. And it's a Bordeaux blend. It's pretty heavy on the Cab Franc. And it is fantastic. And it's just a wonderful way to kind of come together with such a big cheese. Moving on, I also have some more savory components. When we're talking about fat and how the cheese really needs the fat, I'm going with a duck liver pate from Hinckley's Meat. We have a truffle mustard that I import from France, and just throwing that together with this cheese is an amazing bite. Throw that in your mouth and oh my gosh, it's outstanding. The other pairing that I have, which is also very fun, is from the Ivanhoe Brewing Company. And this is Tupac Shaporter, which is obviously very fun, and a really cool, delicious, malty, awesome porter. We do grilled cheese happy hour here every single weekend. And this is a fantastic, lovely grilled cheese that we just created. So we used fresh baked sourdough bread from downstairs in our market. We have Hinckley's Meats bacon. He's got a smoky bacon that he makes, and we've used that. Of course, we've got the Tillamook Maker's Reserve 2015 cheddar in here for that sharp complexity. And then we did a pear chutney with a little bit of cinnamon and some sugar, and we've got some fresh basil topped on. I'm Tonda Carenti from La Femme de Fromage in Orlando, Florida, and I have had a blast, and I really hope you've enjoyed my board, and I hope you have a fantastic National Cheddar Day.
Tonda put together an amazing spread. I was just so pleased when I saw everything that she had done for her celebration of National Cheddar Day. And so what I wanted to do was to see if I could create my own form of a triple chocolate cookie that was spiced. So I bought a double chocolate cookie from a local bakery, and then I created a chocolate ganache. And to the chocolate ganache, I added some cayenne pepper and a little bit of smoked paprika and a little shot of Tabasco. And so then I dipped all the cookies into the ganache, and that's what you have here. And I still want to try that Eternal Flame. I'm going to have to order them. I'm on the opposite coast from Florida, but that cookie looks too good not to pass up, right? So for my perfect bite, what I did was I put the cheese right, or the cookie right on top of the cheese. I just cut a little wedge of the chocolate cookie and placed it right up on top of the cheese. And so I chose an oatmeal stout to have because it just, with the robust flavors in this cheese, because it is a very robust, alive cheese, the 2015 is, with all of the acidity and the buttery and custardiness of it, I thought adding the chocolate, that a stout would be a fun pairing, because that's what she had chose too, and she knows what she's doing. So I'm looking forward to trying this together. Jill, what did you pair with the 2015?
You know, Denise, I went a little bit different. I just loved everything that Tonda did, and one major point of her theme was doing everything with local inspired ingredients, and I can't wait to try some of her her pairings exactly. But what I did, because for me, you know, making it easy, making it fun for somebody, to make sure that that bite works for you as well, is I went also local, but I went a little bit different. So living in Tillamook County, we have some amazing bays that surround us. One of the bays is Neatarts, Oregon, and J. Andy Oyster has some beautiful oysters that I have always been a huge fan of putting the makers on top of the oyster.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yes, so you have the beautiful oyster shell that comes straight out of Neatarts Bay and Tillamook, and then the Tillamook 2015 makers on top. So you also get this umami bomb that's just brilliant, and then topping it off with a little bit of lime. And so not only do you get the beautiful, wonderful, clean oyster, but the 2015, that citrusy, buttery note, and then the citrus and the lime on top. So really listening to Tonda about, you know, taking wonderfully made things that are local to you, and then pairing it with the makers. So cheers once again, Denise. And when you come to Tillamook, you'll have to try this as well.
I can't wait, Jill. That is making my mouth water. Thinking about the oyster and the cheese and then the lime on top, I'm just anticipating that, like, citrus and umami and the intensity of it. I can't wait to be able to come to Tillamook and have that with you.
And imagine just a little bit of those, the technical term is tyrosine crystals, but just that crunch in that 2015 as well. So once again, you get the play of different, you know, flavors and textures all together. So it's really fun.
Yum. So while you're enjoying that, I'll tell you a little bit about what I tasted in my pairing. And I want to point out, this cheese is now 6 years old and I sliced it. So that's another thing that's so lovely about our cheese, is that it stays so creamy and buttery, and the moisture content is really preserved well in the cheese as it ages. And so to be able to slice a cheese that's 6 years old is really wonderful. It makes it work really well with the pairings when you're doing them. So when I tried the chocolate with the spices and the cheese, what it really brought out to me was there's like this fruity undertone in the 2015 of cherries. And, you know, it kind of came alive with the chocolate. And then the stout is kind of chocolatey too, this oatmeal stout. So it cleansed it, and it also blended with it. And it was just really lovely. So Jill, how did that go for you? I can't wait to hear about the oyster.
Oh, I have another 5 to go. So I'm gonna have them all finished by the time the end of this session probably, but it's so unique and so amazing. And just, you know, Tillamook is B certified corp. So we absolutely do what's right for our environment, and being so close to, you know, the bay, to where we can really pair these two together, you know, is just amazing. And I'm just so lucky that I'm able to do that here. So when you come to Tillamook, I will make sure to have some available so you can try this amazing citrus and umami bomb as well. One thing I want to point out, just being very creative, I love how you put the chocolate cookie on top of the cheddar. So the cheddar being that delivery as you bite with the topping. That's a fantastic idea because a lot of people put the cheese on top of something, but I love how the cheese is just that base showpiece that you did.
Yeah, what I experience when I do that is the cheese goes right onto your palate, into your tongue. And so you can start experiencing the flavors up front right away. And like I mentioned before, the 2015 at the start has very nice citrus notes. And so that's what I originally felt. And then as it melted and I was able to blend it with the chocolate is when the sweet and the acidity came together. And that's when those kind of cherry undertones came out in it. And then it has a little bit of a peppery finish on the 2015. And it met really well with the kick of the smoky paprika and the cayenne pepper. So this was fun for me. I'm a sweet and chocolate person as well. So, you know, having the best of both worlds with this lovely cheddar and the chocolate cookie was divine. And you, when you say fresh, Jill, I've seen you paddleboard and you gather your own like crabs and shellfish, don't you?
I do. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
I'm an avid paddleboarder here on the Oregon coast. So harvesting, you know, what's locally grown here, you know, crab, cockles, butter clams. Yesterday we had a minus tide, so I went and got some mussels. And, you know, pairing that with Tillamook is so special to me. People always ask me, why is everybody so happy here? And, you know, honestly, it's because we love Tillamook, you know, not only as a brand, but the products they're producing. You know, our member farmer families, we have 80 plus farmer family owners that just really, you know, take that commitment to producing the highest quality milk day in and day out. And it makes our job easy to where we can produce, you know, the highest quality products consistently day in and day out. And, you know, Denise, you have a recipe that's one recipe for our cheddar and you're able to tuck it away. And then, you know, 3 years up to 10 years, have it being so clean, you know, not harsh, not bitter as some of the other, you know, like aged cheddar sometimes happens to them. We're not experiencing that with our cheddars. You're experiencing these wonderful flavors and textures that are so unique. And what really excites me about this makers program is people can buy the flight and taste, you know, these from year to year to year, and then jump to the 10-year and see just how wonderful that they change over the years.
Yes, you're right. You know, what you're reminding me of is Tillamook. Tillamook does right by every bite. That's what we do. And I think that what's so lovely about the things you talked about and the commitment to quality is the flavor comes through in the cheese. So all of the effort and the high standards and the quality that goes into the cheese definitely is evident in the wonderful quality and the flavor of the cheese. So I think we have one more left, and it's last, but it's certainly not least. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. As a matter of fact, my pairing was very similar to everybody else. The cheddar, and this is an Effie's cocoa cake. So I thought the same thing as you guys did. A little bit of chocolate, a little bit of cocoa, and then a black lager. You know, I just love the maltiness of it and all that malt and all that, and but the cheese just brings out. The chocolate just comes out even more, and the butter comes out more. It's fantastic. Just love that. All right, so we have our next one, which is going to be Nicole. Let's go ahead and hop over here and get her going. And she has the 2010. And the one thing that, you know, that she brings is some balsamic vinegar on top of this. And I think that it's really cool, especially this grapefruit. So she's got the Tillamook Maker's Reserve 2010. And she's pairing this with what she does is a heart, and she crisped up the mortadella chips. So they would kind of they're like bologna. So bologna that's kind of just soft. So a little bit of cooking on it makes it a little bit hard. Then she makes another heart with the cookie cutter of the cheese, and then does the black garlic in little tiny hearts, and then it's soaked in aged grapefruit balsamic and a little bit of grapefruit zest, a little honey roasted macadamia nuts, and then to give it some color, some sweet tomato jam with from the Backyard Food Company. And what's really amazing is that she did a wonderful job of doing different pairings. And so she tried wine and beer and all that, and she happened to have a glass of or a cup of tea, and the tea ended up being just the perfect pairing for that. So tell us a little bit about the 2010 vintage, being that this is quite an aged version of your cheese.
Yes, so the 2010 is now 11 years old. And what I think is so remarkable about the 2010 is that it's so buttery. You know, as cheese ages, cheese is a living thing. It continues to evolve. It can lose moisture, but the 2010, again, I was able to cut it into triangles. And when you put the 2010 in your mouth, it's just, but the texture is like butter, and there is fruitiness in it. And, you know, the fruitiness is, it kind of crosses over both citrus and, like, it's described as strawberries. And then there's that kind of mushroom flavor that comes in on the savory side. So it's so complex and it's so delightful. But what is so exciting to me is that it's so creamy. It has the crunchiness, it has the creaminess. So the texture of it and the aromas and the flavors are just really mind-blowing. People are so surprised when they try this now 11-year-old cheddar at how wonderful it is. And it's just kept this bright, buttery, caramely loveliness to it.
You know, Denise, one thing I want to add to that is as our cheddar ages, every year a little bit of moisture is expelled out of that cheddar as it ages. That's the natural aging process. We like to call that the angel's share. So to your point, you were able to still cut it. And that's due to that high fat, high, just wonderful dairy components. And so, yes, it's getting a little bit drier as it ages, but it's still so luxurious and buttery due to the high dairy fat components. And that's where your flavor is at. So it's just a wonderful time-honored cheddar that I'm so excited to taste with you today because it has these wonderful buttery sweet notes. And you know what? You also be able to experience some very slight undertones of just some flesh squash in it and some earthy mushrooms. So it's a fantastic cheddar.
It surely is. And, you know, the 2010 was, it ran, its 10-year release was last year. So it really has been retired. But for National Cheddar Day, we're making the 2010 available for sale at Tillamook.com. So you still can experience the Maker's Reserve 2010, which is a really exciting thing that Tillamook was able to do for National Cheddar Day.
Welcome to National Cheddar Day. My name's Nicole Easterday from FARMcurious, and I'm here to pair the 2010 Tillamook Maker's Reserve Cheddar with all kinds of delicious things that you see on this board right here. The first thing that you'll see is honey roasted macadamia nuts. We've got the cheddar cut into hearts because it's no mistake that National Cheddar Day is the day before Valentine's Day. We have a roasted Mortadella Cracker. We've got black garlic. Bear with me, it's delicious. The black garlic has been infused inside of grapefruit infused balsamic olive oil. And then we've got a little bit of grapefruit zest. And just to bring an extra punch, we have some tomato jam. Our beverage is going to be a hot tea from Mariage Frere called Black Orchid. This cheese is incredibly beautiful. It's got a bright citrus flavor. It has intense umami and a lot of those delicious little crunchies that I know you guys are crazy for. I've paired the cheeses based on flavors that will both complement the taste that I got out of my bite of cheese, as well as contrast with those flavors. So I'd like to start talking about the Mortadella Cracker. So I really wanted to do something that would complement the umami flavor in the cheese, and Mortadella does that beautifully. Now the trouble with Mortadella, it's kind of a cold cut, so it doesn't make a very nice cracker. So I cut it into these shapes, roasted it, and it gave me a crisp cracker, which is a perfect surface to hold my cheese on top of. I cut the cheese into a heart shape as well. I used a smaller cookie cutter for that. Cut it really thinly, and then you can stamp it out into whatever shape you like. That's what I've done here. And so it's a nice little amount. The next thing that I've added is honey roasted macadamia nuts. So you may remember that I tasted roasted macadamia nuts in the cheese's flavor profile. So I've added this not only for crunch, but also to further amplify the flavors in that cheese. The next thing I've added is black garlic. So if you know anything about food trends, maybe you know that black garlic is going crazy right now. There's a huge trend in adding black garlic to things. It's a pretty strong flavor. So you'll see I've cut the black garlic pretty small for my bite. And I've also done something else. So I actually marinated the black garlic in a grapefruit infused white balsamic vinegar. It's heavenly. So at the end of creating the bite, we'll drizzle this black garlic infused balsamic over the bite as well, just a small amount to give it that acidic poplar. So the final thing that I did was I had a tomato jam. This is an amazing tomato jam that comes from the Backyard Food Company, and they won some good food awards this year. So I took a little bit of that jam and put it on, and this is one example where it gave contrast rather than complementing the existing flavors. It gave a pop of acidity, it gave a bright sweetness, and also just a little dash of color, which was exactly what I was looking for. And then obviously you need something to drink with this delicious bite. Wonderful tea from Mariage Frere. It's called Black Orchid. And the thing I like about it is it's got some caramel, some vanilla essences in it. Again, I'm Nicole Easterday from FARMcurious. Thank you so much for joining me for National Cheddar Day. Go forth and enjoy cheddar.
So I thought that Nicole's pairings were really unique and wonderful. I ended up getting some mortadella and cutting them in hearts like she did, and I roasted them. I had my mortadella cut thicker than hers because instead of roasting it at 275 for 15 minutes, mine took 30 minutes, so I did it about twice as long. But I really can't wait to try this as a cracker. So the umami flavor of the mortadella, it really paired well with the cheese, she said, but she didn't want to add a cracker to it. That's why she created the mortadella cracker. She also used grapefruit zest, and what I went with instead was a red grapefruit jam. I felt like I didn't have a grapefruit and I wanted the grapefruit flavor, but I also wanted something slightly sweeter. So I used that. And I didn't have a tomato jam, but I found a homemade chili sauce that was, it's sweet, it's hot, but it has the kind of consistency more of a jam or a puree rather than something like a sauce. So I added that as well. And then the magic for me is 2 years ago, my son on a trip to Italy brought me some Italian balsamic vinegar glaze, and I still had some. So I put that on top. And that is my perfect bite. I'm going to pair it with the Chardonnay as well, Jill.
Denise, that looks fabulous. I would love to try making the hearts and the mortadella, and then maybe even making, I love how she even cut out the makers and little hearts and then had the balsamic glaze on top. Just a very beautiful visual appeal for not only being National Cheddar Day, but tomorrow is Valentine's Day. I just loved it. I loved everything about it. I have a tomato jam that's also just a little bit spicy, but with the 2010. And then I have it on just a base of an oat cracker. So something very simple. And then I'm going to top it with the balsamic glaze as well. And then just having it be just something that just pops in your mouth. But then because the 2010 is just a cheddar that deserves full attention. And you can have some of these other flavors that can possibly, try to challenge it. But with the 2010 being that full bodied with a little bit of that tomato peppery jelly, it just really suits it very well. So once again, cheers, Denise. And I'm excited to hear about your perfect bite, how it tastes, how it feels. But I just love the color of this as well. That was a great idea. And then just having, your pairing, bring in different colors for Valentine's as well. Those bright reds against the white cheddar as well.
Yeah, that's really fun when you're building like your board for two for Valentine's Day to think about the colors and think about the shapes as well as the flavors and the textures that you're going to be having on your board. So what I loved about this pairing is that the mortadella was what I put on the bottom. So it came in with a really strong, like brothy, meaty, we call it umami kind of flavor with the mortadella. And then I got to the cheese. And the cheese has the sharpness we sometimes call a bitterness, but it's a good bitterness, and you can feel it on the back of your tongue. And between the brothy meatiness of the mortadella and then that slight bitterness, that sharpness of the 2010 cheese, the contrast was really awesome. And then with the balsamic vinegar and the tomato and the grapefruit, I mean, all of those different flavors were coming through at different times. Every time that I would take a bite and chew it, there was something like, it was like a symphony, and I think that's what she said, as you're experiencing the bite, it was like creamy, buttery, citrusy, tomatoey, it all just kind of came out in the bite and was lovely. So I think this is a delightful way to celebrate National Cheddar Day and celebrate Makers Reserve with such a lovely and unique cheese, to be able to have such a lovely 11-year-old cheese.
It is, Denise. And it's just, our member owners should be so proud of this 11-year-old cheddar because it is so exceptionally just perfect. It doesn't have, any harsh notes. It's just so clean, and it just has these amazing flavors that just burst in your mouth. And I love how, one fun thing to do instead of just slicing is you take your knife in there and you kind of wiggle it in. And so it creates these beautiful shreds or more like these chunks. Yeah, it just looks just so appealing, just visually as well. And so not only do you get to eat it, but eat with your eyes as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's really a lovely, and it is a beautiful cheese. I was able to cut mine. So I let it sit for about 30 minutes and I was able to slice it. So Michael, what do you have there with your 2010?
Well, I think it says it all. I have a Basil Hayden dark rye that absolutely is a perfect match for it. I used a little bit of an Effie's rye cracker, and then a little bit of Girl Meets Dirt up from where you guys are. And this is the pear Bartlett, and it's a pink Bartlett, and it is a heritage preserve. And it just makes everything just sing. And the bourbon goes really well because that's a nice dark rye with that cheese.
That sounds great. A dark rye sounds interesting. I haven't tried that before. This pairing, what I think is so unique about it is that mortadella, that brothiness, that meatiness of the mortadella, it lingers. So it lingers with the custardy richness of the cheese and just a little bit of that grapefruit. It's just so pleasant. So So that was the last of our cheesemonger presentations. So now we're going to have, I think, the opportunity for the viewers to vote on their favorite, and then we'll tell you how we decided what we decided was our favorite.
So let's go
Excellent.
ahead and recap where we were and what we did. And so our first presentation was actually with Ben, and he did the rosemary cashews, the pear mostarda, pineapple mango, and the lush puppy, which was really just amazing. When you guys see that, he does such a great job. And then we have Sarah, we also did some cheddar hearts right there with a little bit of marmalade, some granola, and some fresh mint, and she did a bergamot sour. And then we had Lindsay, who did two. She had a unami bomb, and the shallot, the salami, and the rosemary, and then a sweet and sassy with a little bit of Effie's Oak Cake, some dark chocolate, and spiced candied cherries. And she did a Perry bourbon cocktail. And then we had Tonda. She did an internal flame chocolate cookie with the Quantum Leap Winery Kaylee's Rescue Red, and a little duck liver pate with truffle mustard. And of course, she has the Ivanhoe Park Brewing, the Sharp Porter, and then it did a grilled cheese sandwich, which when you guys see that, it's really amazing. All right. And then last but not least is Nicole, who brought out some crisp mortadella chips, some black garlic, grapefruit zest, and honey roasted macadamia nuts with a little bit of sweet tomato jam and balsamic drizzle. And beverage is a wonderful black orchid tea. So I'm going to give everybody an opportunity. I have a poll coming up, and let's give you an opportunity to be able to, which one of those would you like to have, and which one is your favorite? So
while the poll is being done, what I thought we could talk about briefly, Jill, was the fact that we have some really exciting marketing events that we're going to be doing in 2021. We have a chef that's going to be doing pairings for us, and we're going to have a bourbon pairing for Father's Day. So you'll want to watch on Instagram and Facebook and social media for our posts on that. And then for the holidays, we'll be doing pairings for holiday entertaining and cheese boards. So those are some fun things that we're going to be doing this year that will give you more ideas to how to use Maker's Reserve, how to create unique pairings that you can share with your family and friends. Additionally, I just want to mention again that the Maker's Reserve 2010 vintage, although it has been retired and you can't find it in grocery stores, in celebration of National Cheddar Day, we're making it available on Tillamook.com. So you too can experience the Maker's Reserve 2010 vintage.
all right, looks like we got about everybody that's voted is voting. And we'll give them just about another 10-15 seconds here, and it looks like everybody's pretty much stopped. It's at the peak of it, and it looks like there's a definite favorite in here, and we have voted with Lindsay's, and you know, her Unami Bomb and her Sweet and Sassy with the 2016 Maker's Reserve. So congratulations on Lindsay for being voted the favorite on the polling here.
Yay, congratulations, Lindsay. You know, she did a great job with coming up with like the sweet and the savory pairings. She even made it fun by naming them Umami Bomb and Sweet and Sassy. She really did a great job. All of the cheesemongers did a fabulous job. You know, they all created either components of their pairing or a beverage. Their creativity was just off the charts. It was really hard for us to pick a favorite, but when it came down to it, the one that stood out to us was Nicole Easterday with FARMcurious. So we chose Nicole's presentation and her pairings as our favorite. And, you know, we felt like the combination of the mortadella with the umami of the frothiness of the 2010 cheese, and then also bringing it out with the tomato and the grapefruit was really unique. But adding that acidity of the balsamic vinegar was just really special and unique, and I certainly could taste that it transformed the bite. Another thing that Nicole did that really stood out was she really did her homework on Tillamook. And she studied some of the materials we gave, and she learned about our cheese process, our cheese making process, and what's so unique and special about it that makes Tillamook's cheddars taste so special, and that you can't find a cheddar that tastes like Tillamook anywhere else. So congratulations to Nicole, congratulations to Lindsey, and all the cheesemongers, because we really love everything that you did. You poured your heart and souls into this. You did a great job. We loved meeting you, and you're sharing all of your talents and creativity with us. And we hope we can look forward to doing more collaborations like this with you in the future. This one last slide is, we wanted to share with you grocery stores where you can find Maker's Reserve. So here are the grocery stores that carry Maker's Reserve across the country right now. So you can go into the specialty cheese department and ask the people that work at the counter, and you should be able to find Maker's Reserve here. A bonus for those who stayed is that we're going to announce a winner of the cheese bundle. So in celebration of National Cheddar Day, we're going to give one of the viewers a bundle of different varieties of Tillamook cheddars as well as Maker's Reserve. And so Michael is going to select the lucky winner for us and let us know who won. And then we will email you and you can let us know where to send the cheese. So Michael, do we need a drum roll?
There we go. And our winner is Jennifer Berg.
Jennifer Berg, congratulations. Thank you for being with us, Jennifer, and everybody. We'll be reaching out to you and we'll connect with you on getting you your cheese. So this was such an exciting event for us to do. It was the first of its kind for us to partner with Cheesemongers and to have these kind of creative pairings that we could bring to you. We'll look forward to doing more of these kind of events as the year unfolds. And once again, happy National Cheddar Day.
Happy National Cheddar Day, everybody.
Yes, happy National Cheddar Day. And you'll see this on my YouTube channel, Michael Landis Cheese, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care, have fun, and be safe. Love you all.
Thanks, Michael. Bye-bye. Bye,
Bye.
Jill.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.